for joining today. So what we're going to discuss today is how to build relationships and revenue, right? So for today's agenda, we're going to go over some core or some key concepts as what is personal branding, what is an effective strategy that works on social media, specifically on LinkedIn, what is social etiquette, so how to make the ask or for your prospective buyers, how to DM properly without being weird, anything like that. And also just other content strategies and formats that really work for you guys. But before we begin, I'm going to give you guys a quick introduction of who I am. So I'm Jarrett Thomas. I've been in this space for about 11 years now. I've sold everything from display advertising. I worked at Con Lions. I was a VP of an agency, brought several products to market in the SaaS field. Most recently, or where it gets to the point of personal branding, I was at a place called I Pull Rank, which is a small agency in New York City, a Black-owned agency that specializes in SEO. So I got there. I was in a weird place in my career. I got introduced by a friend of mine, and I spoke to the founder, and I asked him $1 million question. I'm like, how are we generating revenue right now at this point, right? So we're a small agency, and I'm tasked with going after Uber, Nike, Lyft, and Fortune 1000 brands, right? My problem was I'm thinking, who's going to actually reach out to me? Who's going to actually take a meeting with me if we're not known or we have very little visibility within the industry? So once I asked him that question of how we're generating revenue, he didn't say it was from emails or, newsletters, anything like that. He said it was specifically from his Twitter. So he's been in the space for a long time. He was doing keynote speaking. He was on the circuit, and he had 50,000 followers on Twitter. So once I saw that, light bulb went up, right? So I'm like, it's not those emails that you want me to send or what I'm used to sending. It's really the fact that you've been able to build relationships with the industry and you have word of mouth referrals that are driving in revenue to the business. So what I said is, I'm going to try the same thing, right? Like, I'm tired of sending 1,000 emails out. My mindset is, if I send 1,000 emails, I get one meeting to accept. That person may not even be in the right mindset to buy at that moment. They could take a pity meeting. They could do so much. And you're really just not having an accurate forecast or pipeline because it's just that, right? And I wanted to flip it on its head and give myself more leverage by putting myself out there. So what I did in the very first week of starting, I would go downstairs, me and my sales partner, and we would just take our phones out and just talk about random topics. No editing, no anything. We would talk about SEO. We would talk about parenting, how we feel that morning. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant's passing. Anything that was happening that was current events, we just wanted to create a conversation, right? So 2 months into doing that, we actually started to see our followers and our views go up exponentially. We went from 500 views to 5,000 views to 10,000 views. And 2 months into our personal branding journey, we're walking in Manhattan and people are starting to recognize us. So when that happened, I'm like, looked at my sales partner. I'm like, we are actually on to something. People are actually in the street, recognizing Jarrett and Lee and want to take pictures and do stuff as social. And I just thought that was an opportunity for us to really change the way we do sales. Fast forward, I end up closing one of my biggest deals in my career straight from LinkedIn, from being top of mind. We ended up closing a $450,000 deal. And then from there, the pandemic happened. And it couldn't have been as important to have a personal brand, right? So we're going to go into some of the things that I implemented in my strategy. What are some things you should look at on LinkedIn? And in terms of what I've been able to accomplish on LinkedIn, I was able to close over $2.2 million in sales without sending a cold calling email. I sold over $1 million at Hootsuite at 6 months as a strategic AM without a cold caller email. I also was featured as a LinkedIn Black voice to follow on Amplify, which is on our homepage. And I also have a podcast called More Than a Title, which allows me to have countless invaluable relationships with the industry. So I've interviewed people like the CEO of Revolt, Rap Snacks. Just as of yesterday, we actually talked to Paxton Baker, who's actually part owner of the Washington Nationals. So that was a really big conversation for me. And all of this happened from LinkedIn. And what we're going to do is go into how do you actually make this happen for yourself. Okay. Before we go any further, does anybody have any questions about personal branding to begin, or is there any chat or anything like that I should be looking for?
Thinking that's amazing. So it all starts with relationships. That's my takeaway so far.
Absolutely. Everything is relationships. I look at relationships. Relationships are currency, right? So back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, right? When I used to interview for jobs earlier in my career, it used to be, who is in your book of business, right? Who can you call? Who can you refer to right now? Like, who can you sell into right now today? And then if you look at the way the market is, it's even more so truer today, right? Customer journey has changed, right? People are consuming information at a higher rate. We have access to information that we need. We don't need to do 4 or 5 demos with a sales guy anymore. the sale is being happening online, right? In chats and Slack channels, Discords, LinkedIn, all these different places. And you have to be where your customers are. And if you can make content, or how I look at it, content is the bridge between yourself and the seller. They don't know Jarrett Thomas. How do I build trust? How do I make you want to do business with me? And what I thought the best thing with me to do was tell my personal story. So what really took off for me was this one story was like, hey, I was 20 years old. I was working at Starbucks, the Pan Quotidian. I had my son on the way, and I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Because I can't make minimum wage, right? Like I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm panicking. I'm like, I've got to do something other than sell these ribs. I got to do something. So what did I do? I went on Indeed every single day and applied to every single job that I thought was better with the minds, which was every job. And then I finally got a call back from a hospital consultant job, got a recruiter. I go into the place and he asked me to sell him. Another recruiter overheard me, asked me to sell him a pencil like straight out of Wolf of Wall Street. Next thing you know, in a place in Times Square doing a video for, the company that I was interviewing for. And then I snuck into sales. I ended up starting at a place called Intent. And then that was my first inception of digital sales. And I started there for 3 years and was a top seller for 8 straight quarters. So it's all about, and it was that story that took off. People from Germany, France, Africa, Asia, all across the States were like, John, I resonate with that story, man. I was in the same boat, man. I used to sell ribs too. And it's those conversations that people resonate with, right? And you create that connection, right? Now I know Jarrett. He's not no stranger. He's the guy who actually snuck in the sales. He's a father. He's a family man. He knows what he's doing. I might want to go get a beer or coffee, and I actually want to connect with this guy. And it just kind of trickles from there. When you think about personal branding, I'm gonna stop here for a quick second. But when you think about personal branding, I'm curious, what do you guys think about when you think about personal branding? Like, what is your definition, so to speak?
Was my reputation.
Absolutely. That's all it is. It's just your personal brand. It's just a unique combination of skills and experiences that make you who you are. It's how you present yourself to the world, right? The only reason why there's a big opportunity on LinkedIn right now, LinkedIn has over 722 million users, but only 2 to 4% of those users who are online every day actively post. So that's why if you see the algorithm, or why you see creators getting more views and likes and more visibility on LinkedIn versus an Instagram or a Meta, the only one that's comparable right now is TikTok, is because those are content deficient platforms. Right. So if you go on Instagram, you're only going to get 10% of your following. So if I have 1,500 followers on my Instagram account and I put up a video, I can expect to get anywhere between 150 and 200 views. That's my cap, unless something viral action happens. On LinkedIn, you can have 10 followers and get 10,000 views, 10 million views, depending on the content. Because the way the algorithm works, if I like your post, my connections get access to your content. So it's a real value of a like versus comment, and we'll go down into that a little bit more. But that's the opportunity. Most people, when they go on LinkedIn, they think about their professional image, right? What should I say? I'm not a thought leader. Will anybody care what I say? Is this valuable enough for the market, right? Or there's other people doing it right now. What can I do to add my 2 cents to the conversation, right? And it's all those things that make people hesitant about posting on LinkedIn. But as on LinkedIn stats, 74% of the buyers in today's market are on LinkedIn actively looking for content for their business. So it's a huge opportunity, right? So I tell everybody, LinkedIn is the world's biggest highway. Think of LinkedIn as the world's biggest networking conference, and you get a chance to be a keynote speaker every single day. And that's the opportunity is. So for me, it's changed my life. It's changed my sales cycle. I went from having conversations that it would take 4 to 5 months to close. And we were closing deals that were coming inbound to us because of content, and they were closing in 2 to 3 weeks. Right. And it's a whole different conversation once you have somebody reach out to you that likes your content, been following you, and want to do business with you. They literally give you the information. You don't even need to do a discovery call, right? So which makes the sales call much more enjoyable. It makes the process much more enjoyable, and increases your chances of actually doing a deal because they want to do business with you, right? Versus me cold calling you. You don't know who I am. I have to convince you. I have to show you the product. I have to get Tom involved, Jesse involved, so many other different stakeholders involved. And it's just a long process, right? So that's definitely one of the benefits of that. As far as one of the more benefits of personal branding, you become famous to your tribe and your audience. You minimize imposter syndrome. So that's a huge one for me. So I can tell you guys right now, like just from me starting on LinkedIn every single day, my confidence has gone through the roof. You know, I just come up with a concept, come up with content, and I just put it out there. And if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? But what I look at and how I viewed myself or judge my impact is not metrics, but is actually impact. So I don't judge myself on how many views, how many likes, none of those vanity metrics. I judge myself on how many DMs did I get? How many people are actually saying they like or found my content valuable? How many people are asking to make an appointment today? How many people are looking to get 30 minutes to talk about whatever, right? And that's how I view myself, right? But definitely limited imposter syndrome for me because I was in a space in my career before LinkedIn where I thought I knew a lot of stuff, but I had no relationships, right? It just, if I met you, I met you. If I didn't, I didn't. If it was a tough quarter, I didn't have anybody in my black book or book of business that I could call up and drum up 50,000 for. Couldn't do it. Now, today's a different story, right? You attract opportunities internally and externally, right? So by putting yourself out there, I've also been on keynotes and all these different things. Hello. Been on keynotes, ad week, social media week, so many different other opportunities. And these are opportunities for you to also scale your brand and also monetize your personal brand, right? So once you get a visibility, you can do things like courses, classes, consultation, so many different areas that you can monetize alongside doing your 9 to 5. So a lot of opportunities there. You close more deals, make more money. You control your career. It's easier to hit your goals. And how does it impact sales? It limits the sales cycle, makes life easier to hit your goals. It just makes the sales cycle much more enjoyable and people come to you and it just makes it that much easier to actually drive the sale, right? Okay. So once again, as far as why is LinkedIn's content efficient platform, did anybody have any questions about the algorithm specifically before we get into it?
I'm actually still not sure how the algorithm really works. For me, I'm a fan of yours because you tell great stories, be it you be on video or it's written, you tell great stories. So I'm thinking that's how it works, but I'm really not sure.
It is a culmination of that. I'm a firm believer that storytelling is the way, right? So what I want to do with any content that I create is I want to show you the journey, right? I want to show you what I've been through. I want to show you what I've learned today. What did I make a mistake? What was that like? What did I learn from that, right? Anything to evoke an emotion is always good. But the way the algorithm works is like every time you post an update, it immediately places your content to one of 3 categories. One is being spammy. The other one's being low quality, the third being clear, right? So what they take into consideration for those things is grammar, links, how many people you've tagged in a post, right? Your post frequency. So if you're posting every 5 to 10 minutes, right? The algorithm's gonna negatively look at that, right? Like you're trying to get on the feeds and game the system. So they're not gonna expose you. Hashtags, if you see somebody who put 50 hashtags on a post, right? I know we've all seen them, right? They're going to limit the likelihood of you getting exposure, right? Because those are all things that are kind of gaming the system, right? And then also they look at response likelihood. So basically your content goes into the first stage of the algorithm, and it basically shows off to your connections who engage with you the most. Right. So it'd be, you know, let's say, for instance, Erica, if you liked my post yesterday, when I post something today, you're going to be one of the first 15 or 20 people who actually see my post in your feed. And if you like my post, it's going to tell the algorithm that this is quality content. This is clear. People are engaging with it. And now let's expose that to a new audience, whether it be second connections, third level connections. And then if you have that engagement throughout, your post can live on the feed for months. I've even seen in some cases years.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are they mostly focusing on video or just
great question. Yeah, so it's like which content formats like perform best with the algorithm?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get.
all good. So video is something that they are looking to push more. So I'm seeing video actually being boosted more in the algorithm. But what really works is carousels. So if you guys see those slideshows, right? It's like 10 slides. Those are doing really well right now. Polls were doing really good because that was an engagement, right? So instead of you liking something, you're actually clicking on something, you're actually going in, making a comment. Those are looked at really favorably in the algorithm. And then text posts will always do good.
Okay, so what about the reason why I was stumbling, because I was trying to think, they have this one where they're like, every time I get on, they're like, try to do like an audio post. So what is that all about?
What do you mean? Just a plain audio post? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, me and Erica were talking about it the other day. It asks you to just do just almost like a podcast type of post.
I have not seen that yet, but personally, if I'm going to give audio, I think it's in the best interest to also use video as well, because it's just that connection factor. Unless you have a decent sized community to start, like Erica with this right here, like this could be a perfect virtual summit if you do it on audio, right? You have a specific audience, they come into your group. But if I'm just saying I'm just Jarrett and I don't really have a community like that and I just do audio, it may not have that same one-to-one connection like video would. So I would definitely recommend that.
One more question.
Yeah.
I recently seen the notification bells on the people I follow, their platforms or my connections platform. Will that help any if a lot of people click on my notification bell? Do you know?
Yeah, it does help. The only problem is with that, you don't really know how many notifications that you're actually sending out per post, right? So LinkedIn's not going to give that information out. It may be 2, maybe 3 people, who knows? But I know, for instance, like if you do a LinkedIn Live, you definitely get a notification. So whoever attends, and I think 10% of my network gets that notification. So really, but I don't look at things like notifications and things like that, to be honest with you. I just look at the feed, and that's where I get a lot of my information from. Like, I don't search out for anybody. It's just like, hey, if you're posting, I come across it, it's cool. Hey, I like this, I'll reach out to you, and vice versa, right? So notifications do help, but just stay top of mind, stay in the feed, stay in the feed. That's where all the magic happens. Okay. And any other questions about the algo though? Those were great questions though.
I have one, and it's in reference to a company page versus a personal page. I know on Facebook, there was this whole thing about not posting business content on your personal page. That's now changed because they're opening up personal pages as professional pages. But on LinkedIn, I noticed there is significantly less traffic when I post to an organization, and that's probably because there's not a lot of followers there. Versus if I post on my personal profile, lots and lots of interaction and engagement. So do you have any insights on how posting to an organization, because you're trying to promote the business side of it, versus the personal side?
Yeah, so the company they're never going to get the same or have the same organic visibility as personal pages, because LinkedIn's main goal is to get the organizations to pay for ads.
Got it.
So as long as they, and LinkedIn ads are very expensive. I think right now it's like a $6 cost per 1,000 views that you receive. And that's like insane, right? But it's a lot of different targeting features where you get very specific for your audience and things like that. But they're always going to push that down, right? So what I would do is just continually just connect. So on company pages, you get up to 250 connections per month. And that's really the way you grow, right? You just can add, like, we used to do like maybe 15 connections a day, post content, right? So now new exposure to our content, somebody may like it, right? Another 15 the next day, we posted more content, right? So you have to really just build your own audience with the company. And then also thing we did, right? Like, I would use my profile page to build the company page.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, say for instance, I would put something in the, hey, we're doing a webinar this week, right? And another good thing for the algorithm, right? Never include links in your post. Right. So links will always look down favorably. And the reason why LinkedIn wants to keep you on platform. Right. So if you're sending a link to YouTube, right, they're thinking, OK, you're taking people off the platform. We're not going to show you. We want to keep people on LinkedIn, because the more people stay on LinkedIn, the more money we get from ad revenue. So always put any links in the first comment. You'll see an increase of at least 20% visibility.
But so I guess, just to follow up there was that your page could be banned on Facebook if you used your personal page for business. Is there a similar issue with that on LinkedIn? No. Got it. Thank you.
No problem. And also another thing to consider too, is called the golden hour. I think this is super important about the algorithm. So is anybody familiar or heard of the golden hour? So, all right. So what this is, and it's very unique to LinkedIn, right? So the golden hour is the first hour within you make the post, right? So that is the most important time of your post, right? The most engagement you get within that first hour, or as much engagement as you get in that first hour, is going to dictate if your post goes viral or not. So for instance, right, there's ways that people are gaming the system. There's a thing called pods. So if you never heard of pods, that's essentially 50 people in a room. And let's say all of us here right today, right? We're like, hey, I want to get more visibility. Erica wants to grow her followers. You want to grow your followers. I want to do this. We're going to create a Slack channel. And every time somebody posts, they put their post within a Slack channel. And then the whole group goes to like it to show the algorithm that is really good content and boost it out to people. So that's why, you know, the algorithm, it's a lot of people are doing that. There's a lot of fluff on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people that you see right now that are getting 500, 600 likes and all that stuff. And there's a lot of pods going on. A lot of people are gaming the system to get more visibility. I don't agree with it, but there also are benefits to it. So if you're looking to just starting out, say if you have like 500 followers and you want to do that, it's a good way to get to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I've never done it. I take the long route. It's a very, very long route. It takes a long time, but it's more meaningful, right? Like I'm doing it organically. So within that first hour, what you want to do is make sure you get at least 10 to 15 likes within that first hour of the post, and then it's going to live in the feed for longer, right? Then it gets into your second connections, your third level connections. And then if you know this too, you can get really creative with sales, right? So I'm gonna give you guys an example of how you can use the feed and the algorithm to work in your favor to generate leads, right? So I did something called Monday marketing. I forgot what it was called, but it was basically I was doing content marketing and I was looking at brands that did good iterations of content marketing. And I was showing examples of how they used it effectively to drive revenue. So I used Nike. Nike's co-founder, I think it was Bill Brand, if I'm not mistaken, right? Him and Phil Knight came up with a New York Times bestseller book called Jogging, right? So 3 million copies in 1973. This is before they released their first shoe. And it was all discussing about the benefits of jogging. What are the health benefits, eating habits, right? What sneakers do you wear? How does it hurt the arch of your foot? And all these different things that were in the book, right? To show people there, you know, for people who are jogging enthusiasts. A year later, they ended up creating their first running Nike shoe to that audience. And that was like one of the first early iterations of content marketing, right? So I tagged Nike on it. What I know is if I tag Nike on it and somebody from their organization likes the post, my post is going to be seen into the entire organization of Nike. So what ended up happening once I tagged Nike, SEO person ended up liking the post. And next thing you know, I go back in an hour, I've got like 20 likes from Nike. From people who work there. I never knew that. This is really cool. Oh, really? They did this? This is fun. We should do this. And things like that. And now that what that did is open it up to a meeting. Now I've got 20 people on, you know, that like my post. They know Jarrett Thomas. So now if I go into your DM, it's like, oh yeah, that was the guy who made the cool post. Oh yeah, the reason why I did it, we actually do content marketing. We got some ideas. Do you have some time, maybe Thursday or Friday? Is it you or Jim who handles that? And that's how you got into an enterprise. So it's a lot of different ways that you could use the algorithm in your favor. One is knowing if you tag somebody and if they like your post, you're going to see to their audience. So think about ways that you could use that to somebody that you're trying to target. Whatever brand you're looking at, you can be like, hey, saw this really cool ad by Yeti Cooler or something like that. And this and the third. And if you know you get the right visibility from that, you're going to open up more conversations. But always thinking about the golden hour. Always try to get as much visibility as you can. If you can, share it to your friends, you know, that are on LinkedIn. Hey, I just sent this out, or whatever the case may be, to get you some traction, to get more visibility. I would definitely encourage you doing so. Okay. Also, reactions. So a lot of people don't know about this, but how reactions boost visibility on LinkedIn. So there are 7 reactions on LinkedIn, right? There's the like, the celebrate, the support, funny, love, insightful, and curious, right? The 4 best ones, right, are celebrate, support, insightful, and curious. Those are the 4 strongest reactions, right? And the least likely reactions are like, love, and support, right? Like, love, and support. So those are the ones that are the least likely reactions. So if you want to help somebody in the algorithm, you want to help boost their visibility, use those 4 reactions: insightful, support, celebrate, and curious. Okay. So what that's telling people is that, hey, they're making me think something. Maybe the content that they're creating is valuable. They're sparking a conversation. Any of those things tell the algorithm that you're keeping people on the platform and you're going to be rewarded for it. So always keep that in consideration.
Which one?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Celebrate, support, insightful, and curious. Those are the 4 ones.
Thank you.
No problem.
Jarrett, with the golden hour, it's best to tag a person or a company.
Yeah, it depends on the context of your content.
Okay.
So like I try not to tag somebody unless it's like something specific. So the Nike example I used, it was like I needed to set up a meeting with them and I didn't want to send 100 emails. So what way could I get Nike's attention on the feed without having to send those emails? So if that's what you want to do, for sure, or like say for instance, like how you did today with the masterclass, right? You tagged me, it's relevant to the post. You know, we're speaking today, so it makes sense. Some people just tag people just to tag people, and that's considered spamming. So that's not going to get a lot of visibility. And then it's also seen as kind of like cloud chasing, for lack of a better term.
Hey, Jarrett,
Yes, sir.
do you utilize the Sales Navigator at all?
I have in the past, but to be honest with you, most of my sales just came organically. So I never really used it for prospecting like that. But for context too, I was only one of 2 sellers in my organization when I did that. So I had open territory. I didn't have to worry about, you know, if I'm emailing somebody or I'm doing something that it's somebody else's account or anything like that. I really had like a wide net. So what ended up happening, I was just creating content every single day, and I would get like an email from a VP of marketing at a company, and they're like, "Hey, I've been following you for 3 months. I love your content. This is what I'm looking to do. I have a 70K budget, and I'm looking to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Can you help me, Jarrett?" And that happened numerous times, at least 10 times. And then, and we got to 2.2 million. So, but Navigator is really good for prospecting. And what I would use it for is looking at your prospect list, and then I would just keep tabs on their content. So the best way to get into your prospects, radar is to engage with their content, support them. If they're posting content, I want to know exactly what they're talking about, right? Maybe I'm going to send you an article from Forbes that is in your business line, right? Like, hey, I just thought about you. I saw you post this yesterday. Here's a really cool article. I thought you might be interested. Or if somebody posts something about their business, oh, this is really insightful, and add your 2 cents, right? My biggest best relationships that I have all started from the feed. Every conversation, right? Like for instance, are you familiar with a guy, Dave Gerhardt? He's one of the biggest influencers on LinkedIn. And if you're not in touch with him, I would definitely encourage to follow him. But he was the CMO of Privy. He gets over, let's say 100,000 impressions per post, right? I would say always try to be witty. Try to stand out in your comments. So for instance, he had something where he made a post. I really liked it. He had 500 comments, right? I'm like, how can I stand out in the comments? What can I do to get this dude's attention? Because I want to get him on the podcast. So what I did, man, I was like, man, you're on fire. And I put up a picture of like the NBA Jam Net, from back in the day from the arcade. And he was like, oh man, he's like, got the Sean Kemp. He's sharing pictures, and me and him are on the feed. But what made him stand out, I made myself a person. It wasn't the, man, this is a really great post, Dave, and I hope you do more of these. And it's like, it's very vanilla. You know what I mean? So use your wit, be funny, try to stand out. It's the same as sales. How can we get somebody's attention? So I would always look at that, add value to their posts, support other people, and they'll support you back. Before you know it, the more you support people, before you know, you have a tribe. You have 15 people that soon as you post something, they're going to support you. They're going to repost it. They're going to share it. They're going to comment. They're going to boost your visibility. It's all about building that tribe. And then also the value of a like versus a comment. So both of these are viewed favorably, but a comment is going to be looked at more favorably in the algorithm versus a like. And there's a very simple answer. Why? Is because you actually took a different action, right? You actually took time out your day, go in the comment, actually type something out and put something in the comments, right? But with the more followers you get, the value of a like increases. So for instance, if I have 17,000 followers on a post on my LinkedIn, right? And I like Erica's post, right? My first level connections are going to have access to it. Let's just say 30% of 17,000. Let's say that gives you exposure to additional 1,000 impressions. There's a really big value on that. So that's why if you ever see people who have huge followings, how many times have you gotten a like from somebody who has 100,000 followers? Very, very rare, right? Very, very rare, because they guard it. They guard it. They guard their likes. They guard their attention. They don't want people to see, be boosted and all those different things. And that's just the value of it. I've seen times where I've liked somebody's post. They've had 5 likes or something like that. I go back maybe an hour later, they'll have 70 likes. Huge value there. So, always think about that. The more when you grow your audience. But tips for working for the algorithm, right? Invest long-term and stay consistent, right? LinkedIn is the long game, right? I didn't really start generating revenue with my LinkedIn content until month 3 when I closed that big deal, but it didn't become reoccurring or like clockwork where I was getting it monthly until month 7. So it's the long game. So how you should be thinking about your personal brand is, one, an introduction. Why should somebody listen to me? Why should somebody consider me? Why should anybody do anything? And that's where the storytelling aspect comes in, right? Like I said earlier, the one that went for me was I was 20 years old trying to find a way into tech, and I end up sneaking in the back door. And now I'm 11 years later, I've done this, and the third, and this is what my expertise lies in. And then, relationships take time to develop and nurture, right? So, it might be, a few months before you gain that trust, right? But keep liking, sharing their posts, showing love, going into DMs, right? Championing their events and all those different things. Authenticity. I can't stress authenticity enough, guys. I'm gonna tell you right now, when I first started, I was, had the shirts, button ups, the polos, I had my wingtips, my Oxfords. I was sharp, sharp to the T. When I finally said, when the pandemic happened and I said, I'm tired of it, I'm just happy I'm showing up. It's when things took off. And I also looked at that from a content perspective, right? I would look on the feed and I noticed nobody had a hat on. Nobody would have a hoodie on. Nobody would look hip hop. Nobody looked like me. So I thought if I can be myself, right? And only 2 to 4% are posting anyway, what are going to be the odds that you're going to be a salesperson from the Bronx that's hip hop that looks like me that's going to be on the feed is going to be a 0.1 chance. So really, I make my own lane. So just think about ways you could differentiate yourself. So look at the feed, see what's working, see what people are doing, and add your own flavor and sauce to it. And then we all have stories that we hoard. we have a ton of stories we hoard, right? Like, so everything that you've done, I'll give you a quick example of something that happened that actually went viral. I had a meeting at 8:30 at night with a CEO. The lady ghosted me, never showed up. I'm sitting there on a Zoom like, oh man, and I needed this. It was end of quarter. I'm pissed off. I'm everything. And I go online and just say, hey, look, it's 8:30 at night. I could have put my kids to bed, but I allocated my time for this meeting. If you can't make it, hey, can we do Monday at 8:30? That works every single time, especially if I'm the seller. You know what I mean? I have to abide by what you're doing, but not saying anything is just unprofessional. And when I said that, it got 500 likes and 80,000 views, and then the lady saw it. The lady who I was selling to saw it and then came back the next day apologizing for it. And long story short, we ended up closing her a week later. So it's little things like that we can relate to. We've all been ghosted on a call. We've all had weird Zoom calls. We all had all these different things that happen within our career that's relatable that people don't necessarily say, right? So think about those things, incorporate that into your content strategy. If you do make video, one thing that you should think about always includes closed captions, right? So LinkedIn has a new feature now that automatically uploads caption. They didn't have that before, but they're pushing for more inclusive content. So most people who are at work, when they're scrolling by, they can't really put audio on. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at your video and maybe stop, but they're going to read it more so than actually listen to your content. So always make sure you have your closed captions on there. People versus pages. We spoke about that earlier. Always try to use your people or personal page in order to grow the company page. It's a great way to grow traffic. I think we went from 1,000 to 5,000 followers from iPull rank from me just being there, right? Like it has senior account executive at iPull rank. So if I get 100,000 views, people are going to look at what does this guy do? You know what I mean? And the traffic was migrating to the LinkedIn page, and from the LinkedIn page, it was going straight to the website. And we've seen I think LinkedIn was our biggest driver of traffic on the website at that time. So limited.
Jarrett?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. May I ask, how do you feel about automations? I am addicted to no-code automations. I use it a lot, but I am not sure if I should be posting on LinkedIn myself or letting my automations do it.
Automations can't hurt you. Me personally, I'll be honest with you. I've never scheduled a post. I need to now because now I'm like doing like 4 different channels. So now I might need a Hootsuite to, manage TikTok and this one and that one. I could just send it out. But for LinkedIn, I would just however I felt. I literally tell you, I had no content strategy. That sounds crazy. It was just however I felt in the day. The lady ghosted me. Oh, putting it online. All right, this happened. I'm putting it online. I feel this way. I'm putting it online. I'm just shooting my shot and just seeing what sticks, right? So the best times to post, what I would say, 9 o'clock, 9 in the morning, as soon as people open up the computer, 12:30 in the afternoon, right around the lunchtime, people are kind of taking their breaks, and 5:30 and beyond is really the best times to post, right? People they're on the train, they're coming home, they put the kids away, they're doing it, they're just taking some downtime. Those are usually the best times to post. And also, a lot of people don't take advantage of this, the weekends. The weekends is open field on LinkedIn, right? Because like who's on? You're a madman if you're on LinkedIn on a Saturday, but people do it, and there's a big opportunity for you to be on there. So just think about those times. Think about your content strategy. There's no wrong way to do this in terms of like scheduling your posts and things like that. But what I would say is make sure you don't edit. So you editing your post within that first hour has a big effect on the algorithm.
Oh,
Big effect on the algorithm. So that's something they just recently changed. I used to be king of the edit. I would just like, I wouldn't care about grammar, no punctuation. I'm misspelling stuff. I was just like, I'm on the fly, and it would just take off. But nowadays you have to make sure, proofread your stuff, make sure it's out in that first hour, and try not to touch it within the golden hour. Okay.
About people who want to take you to, because this has happened to me a couple times, and I'm not, okay, so me and Instagram are becoming friends. And so the person was like, do you have Instagram? This happened to me twice, right? And I'm like, yes, I have Instagram. So, but I sent them to my business Instagram page, not my personal Instagram page, because they came off my personal LinkedIn page. So I really don't do Instagram. So is that a thing, like people want to go off of LinkedIn to Instagram?
It is a thing, but I wouldn't do it unless it's like somebody gives you the permission to do so. Unless we have a really cool relationship, like say for instance, like if Erica's like, hey, can you follow me on other channels? Now we have a relationship, absolutely. But if you just liked one post and now you're asking to get my Instagram, that's kind of, especially if I was a woman, I would think that's kind of creepy.
Exactly. Okay. I'm not crazy. I was just kind of having like an issue. I was like, hold on, wait.
Yeah, I would look at like when somebody wants to do that, they want to see your pictures, they want to see how you look, they want to see if I'm keeping it real, like that's what it is. So keep it on LinkedIn, right? And that's something that happens a lot too, right? Like a lot of that, like people get put on blast for stuff like that. Like I would highly recommend don't do any of that stuff on LinkedIn. I've seen people lose their jobs just for like, hey, you look beautiful today. And it's like really crazy. Yeah. If you guys don't know Madison Butler, follow Madison. Madison calls them out. She screenshots. She does it all. Like I love that girl. But definitely wouldn't do that. The never migrate, right? So what I try to do, like I said, I don't really like Instagram. Instagram's for me, it's like my cousins, my family. I do rap stuff. That's my unfiltered page or whatever the case may be. LinkedIn is kind of like that too, but it's just the visibility. There's no way I'm going to get the same visibility I am on any other platform. If I had to recommend any other platform for you to migrate to, would be TikTok. TikTok, yeah, TikTok is going to be where to go. Like if you want to do for a business, like I said, you got 10 followers right now. I've got 24 followers, but I got videos on there that did like 3,000 views. I'm like, how possible?
Okay, so what? They're looking at your little video. Yesterday, I don't know exactly how it all went down, but I got a message from Facebook saying that a reel got it's like, congratulations, you got like 100 views. And I'm like, who the crap was watching that little thing? I was just playing around trying to figure out what was happening. And they're like, oh, views. I'm like, no, that was not views.
That's how it always happens. I swear. That's a great point that you brought up, right? Like it's always the post that you least expect that's going to perform the best. It's always that, right? So if I sit down right now and try to come up with a perfectly crafted post, right, talking about my life or something like that, it's been many a times because I was, once you get the LinkedIn bug, so to speak, I don't know if you guys ever heard that, right? So that's what happened with me. When I had that first story where I was telling my life story, I got the 100,000 views. I was, oh man, I need the 100,000 views again. Oh, you want stories? I got stories for you. One day, did you hear about the cow and the frog? Did you? I'm shooting my shot. Yeah, and that's what happened, and it never works. But then as soon as I sit there, like, all right, man, this lady ghosted me at 8:30. That's unprofessional. It takes off. So it's, just try to be realistic. Always think about relatable things, parenting, all that stuff, like things that are really happening. Mental illness, mental health. How are you balancing your life as a parent, as a professional, all those things. These are conversations that are happening right now that could really open up your feet. And most people be like, too, I want to, dispel the misconception that most people say that everything has to be valuable, right? I hate that term because value is subjective to the user. right? So what may be valuable to Erica may not be valuable to me, and so on and so forth, right? And people get stuck on that, right? I've posted a medium rare steak and had the CEO of Stars Entertainment like it. Medium rare steak. I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean? So, but it starts conversation, right? It doesn't matter what that is. So the reason why I bring that up is it doesn't matter what content you put out there, just put it out there, right? I could be at a steakhouse right now, see your medium rare. I'm like, oh, damn, that's a good looking porterhouse. And now we're having a conversation, and that could lead into the DM. That could lead into business. I see it happen all the time, right? So just look, where I look at LinkedIn is my personal journey. It's my personal, it's my journal. I can look back, I manifest goals. Hey, 2023 is going to be my year. I want to do this, and the third. Then I'll look back at the end of the year. I'm going to do a recap. Yeah, I got this accomplished. So you can actually follow along with me on what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And that's what makes you relatable. So just think about things as you incorporate that into your strategy. And let me see if I can, we can go over some other different content strategies real quick.
May I ask one more question before you move on?
Sure.
Posting videos do really well. How about if I post that same video at least 4 times that same day?
Oh, I probably would.
Okay.
Because when you make a new post, what it does, it lowers the visibility of your most recent post. So I don't know if you ever noticed that. So like, for instance, if I have a post that's going that's actually getting good visibility right now, I'm going to let that do its thing. And then when it starts slowing down, then I'm going to post another one. But you gotta let it do its thing in the feed, right? So if you did have one that was going good, you might have cut your visibility in half by doing that. Just let it fly. If you see something doing good, let it go. It's gonna go in the algorithm and it's gonna work its magic. Right? But 4 times a day, I ain't mad at you. You shooting your shot, baby. I'm not mad. You shooting your shot. I'm not mad.
I got a weekly live stream show, and if I think it's a good conversation, I will put that same video out 4 times that same day, 4 hours apart. So,
and what are the results you've seen with that though? Like, have you seen like video 3 perform better than video 1, or like where do you see the most traction happen when you do that?
Really see anything, but I don't know how to read my algorithms either.
All right, got you. Well, we're gonna go through it. I got you. We're gonna go through it one day. All right, we're gonna look at it and see what's happening. But I'm gonna go through some different content strategies to give you guys some ideas. Okay. All right. And let me just. There we go. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So if you're not familiar with this gentleman right here, his name is Chris Walker, right? So he's a guy who talks about demand gen, right? And his main thing, that's all he talks about. He has a demand gen business, and he's a very niche content creator, niche topic, right? This is all he'll talk about. You never see him do family stuff. You never see any of that stuff. But the reason why I want to show it is, I'm sorry.
He talks about what?
A demand generation. So basically, how do I drive leads into the website? But the reason why I want to show it is really for the copy, right? And the quality of the content, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's very clear. He's got his captions, right? He's got his closed captions here. But what you want to do when you make a text post, sloppy, choppy copy, right? Nobody wants a full paragraph. Make sure you space it out. Make sure you number it. Like, your format really matters, right? You want to make sure it's easily digestible. Right. I can't tell you how many times I see these long paragraphs on LinkedIn, and it's like I literally have to sit here and read that. 2 sentences most, 2 or 3. Right, like right here, this is like 3 sentences, perfect. 2 sentences, perfect. 3 sentences, perfect. 1, got my bullet points, and then I'm going, right? So if you want to do something, if you want to do niche content, a good line that I heard early in my personal branding journey that always stuck with me, right? Teach them how to fish and they'll learn you sell fishing poles. That's the greatest line I've heard, and I live by that. Like, especially when I was in my seller days, right? If I'm selling you SEO services, I'm going to show you exactly what it is we can do. I'm going to give you free information. I'm going to give you out the playbook. I'm not going to have you, get a gated content, put your email so you know you're going to get sales. I'm going to give it to you for free. Let that marinate and allow you the opportunity to do your due diligence to come back and work with me, right? But I don't know if I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know if anybody here is a niche creator. I say broad versus niche. That's my strategy, right? So like my content is, my podcast is called More Than a Title. I've done demand gen, I've done programmatic, I've done influencer marketing, social media. I can't hone in on one different thing, but I've got expertise in a lot of different things. So I try to go broad, right? And plus you increase your audience size. I don't want to, there's a cap if you speak on demand gen. How many people are going to be interested in demand gen on a mainstream level? It's not. But if I say, hey, I'm 20 years old, I was working at Starbucks, you know what I mean? That's more relatable, you know what I'm saying? And that opens up for more conversations. Okay. Content for recruiting and authenticity, right? So once again, back to the sloppy, choppy copy thing, right? So this is something I made for Hootsuite, right? It was just me being myself. I just put something out there. I was feeling good that day. I'm like, I wasn't feeling myself. My spark wasn't there, mentally drained. I came to Hootsuite. They wanted me to be myself. I'm moving to Atlanta. Doors are opening up. This and the third, right? 22,000 impressions, 351 likes on this one post. But what it does is evoke that emotion, right? It's like, wow, this dude was in a bad place. He ended up going to Hootsuite. They told him he could be himself. He could wear his hat. He could bring his authentic self to work. He's a top seller now. And yeah, he's moving and doors are opening. Yeah, I might want to go to Hootsuite. You know what I mean? I might want to see what they're doing, right? And that was a big thing that I was struggling with when I was with the organization, right? Which is the reason why I started my own brand, right? So if I do this, right, out of the 22,000 impressions, I'm tagging Hootsuite. Who's coming back to the website? Who's requesting a demo? What current customers saw this and thought more favorably of us? Who brought additional product? There's no way to track that unless you have a UTM code and a link. And then, like we said earlier, links are not going to perform on LinkedIn. So it's very difficult to do it. But if you can invoke that emotion, if you could just really tell that story, like I said, one simple sentences: I lost my energy. My usual spark wasn't there. I was mentally drained. I was in between jobs, right? It reads very easily. Also, build a community, be an active member of the community, right? So a lot of things that our creators do, we ask each other and we share information all day. So this is one that was like, hey, has anybody seen why videos get exponentially fewer views than picture or text posts? I have some ideas to why, we talked about it, but 111 comments just from creators. Hey, I saw this, I tried this. Hey, you should do this one. Did you use closed captions? Oh, damn, I totally forgot about that, right? So, ask these questions, right? If you're unfamiliar, like these same questions that you're asking me or asking, right now, put that on the feed. Put that on the feed. All that's valuable content, right? And then you'll learn from different perspectives. So can't be just self-serving. Always think of a way to build your network, support other people, get to know the person, comment on them, share their content, right? This is a low-hanging fruit that most people don't think about either, right? So you guys mostly do desktop or on LinkedIn on your mobile?
I like both, but I'm mostly on my desktop.
So mostly on desktop. So if you're on a desktop, when you go to your home screen, on the right-hand rail, right, on the top right, you're going to see LinkedIn news, which are the trending topics for the day. I'm pretty sure you saw this before, right? So these are topics that are trending on the network on any specific given day, right? So you have the opportunity to actually go into any of these topics, right? Create a post with the link, and then the LinkedIn editors will either say yay or nay to put you on this feed, right? But look at the visibility you can get from this one post, right? So now if I'm on this, they may have 5 articles in this one specific post about Shopify execs exiting, 55,000 readers. So for instance, right here, I only got 31 likes, and I was talking about the retail apocalypse and how malls and how you need to change the digital, you need to really impact your digital strategy and how you impacts, traffic to stores and things like that. I got 14,000 views just from posting this. So this is a huge opportunity for you to build your network, get seen by more people. And this is low hanging fruit. If you don't know what to speak about, they're giving you the topics. So that's a good low hanging fruit for anybody, but this is only on desktop. Okay. So edutainment content. So this is just like a blend of educational and entertaining content, right? So if you guys don't know this gentleman, his name is Alex Sheridan. He's a really good dude, and he does a lot of funny videos like LinkedIn versus TikTok and, how to be creative and all these different things, right? So what you want to do with your videos is make sure it's visually appealing, gives potential buyers a potential glimpse of your personality, and then just really just give as many gems as possible. So what he's trying to do is tell people how to attract more leads using your video content. And he edits, he does everything himself, and then he's driving traffic to himself, right? So if you're going to be giving educational content, always add some entertainment. It should be informative, educational, entertaining. You have those 3 elements, you have good content. Okay. UGC, right? And working with other creators, right? So this is something how, being on other websites or being on other podcasts, right? I was one with Dean Sutton. He's the CEO of Maverick. This is something he posted. More visibility. I think I got an increase of about maybe 500 followers after I made this, or after he made this post. And this is something you could do with customers, right? So for instance, I was at a strategic account manager at Hootsuite. I ended up helping this lady with her LinkedIn strategy, and she went on LinkedIn, actually came up with the story, said what happened, how much I helped her and helped her business strategy. She tagged Hootsuite and also tagged her company. So now what happened is my CEO saw that, their CEO saw that, everybody who was in our company saw that, and they see me helping them. And now I get more visibility showing that I'm actually doing good work for the client. So if you can do that, ask people to do that. I didn't ask this young lady to do that, but UGC, this is a great way of UGC to expose your personal brand. Okay. Value of UGC, we won't go into too much of that. Once again, podcast appearances, LinkedIn polls are a good one. Like I said, LinkedIn polls are really viewed well in the chat, but it depends on what your strategy is going to be. Like I've seen it got really crazy, and that's why they boosted it. People would ask, hey, pizza versus, a Sicilian or something like that. It was no business stuff. So try to make sure that it's relevant to your business. Try to gather information. I would look at LinkedIn polls as a research and development tactic. What content do you guys like from video or this? Or what would you like to do? Or what is the best time for me? What times do you guys look on LinkedIn? Is it 9, 10, 11, 12? And make them. So just make sure it's like research and development so you can take those insights to better your content strategy. Podcasting, of course. Do you use LinkedIn Live? Does anybody here have LinkedIn Live access?
Yes, love it.
Love it. Yes. So I would definitely encourage anybody who's, creating right now, apply for LinkedIn Live. And what I do with my podcast, so I use a platform called StreamYard. So I go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all direct to consumer. And then I put it on streaming platforms afterwards, right? But right now, like I said, once you get that notification, you can actually have, like, I've got I think up to 150, 200 viewers per podcast post. And then we, migrate that traffic to YouTube and other places. So very, very important to have it. And this is just some stats showing the traffic generated from these posts and some high level connections that came as a result of the podcast.
Jarrett, are your podcast video also, or is it just the audio that you're streaming to LinkedIn?
Video. Yeah, it's video okay. And audio. Yeah. Video and audio. But something I do too, and I would highly encourage, I do unscripted content. So I want people to come in, like I did 55 episodes of another podcast and we would do it the same way. I had an outline, I had my questions lined up, but what I started to notice, it became too robotic. It didn't feel like a real conversation. It was like question 1, good question. Question 2, this, question 3, right? It became so crazy. But now I get people on the show, they just come on and I'll ask them anything, right? Yesterday, I asked the CEO, the owner of the Nationals, how do you start a funding? How do your kids view you? Are you cool to them or not? You know what I mean? All these different questions, and it just makes for a great conversation. Let's, we have a question 2. Hope I didn't. But thank you. Newsletters is also a great way to get visibility, right? But the real benefit from this, if you create a LinkedIn newsletter, it has the opportunity to actually rank on Google. So that's a huge benefit right now. So I've got a guide on a beginner's guide to LinkedIn that actually ranks right now on the top page of Google, because I've made it on LinkedIn, right? So it can boost your brand awareness, help you stay top of mind. It builds authority and share a voice online, and it builds a community, but it's also very spammy. It's hard to get, I get at least 20 LinkedIn newsletter requests a day, right? But if you do get people, this is going to be your most engaged audience that you have on the platform. So if you create that newsletter, you create that community, these are people who you're going to be able to sell to and people that really care about your content. So it's certainly valuable in that regard. Articles, same thing. LinkedIn Live, we went over pods, daily routine, but let's go into how to engage people, right? So I always
Before you move on,
yes, ma'am.
May I ask, you said articles and newsletters are the same thing?
Yes.
They are? Okay.
No, not the same. So newsletters is your specific audience. So only people who come into, if you have a newsletter, the only people who subscribe to my newsletter are the only people who are going to see my content, versus me creating an article is going to be exposed to the entire network. So that's the main difference.
Should I be doing both?
Absolutely. I would encourage that. Absolutely. So newsletter, like I said, the articles you can rank, and it's the same thing. But like I said, your newsletter is your specific group. So if you put out a newsletter tomorrow, I didn't subscribe for it, I'm never going to see the content, right? So think about that as your top, let's say 15, 20, 30 people who are most engaged with you. Create that closed community and give them that content versus an article is going to go on my feed. They're going to see it on the post, and then they're going to have that chance to engage with it as long as it stays on the feed.
Okay, so should the articles be like snippets of that newsletter?
Could be.
Or
Could be,
okay,
for sure. For sure. And
I
that
got you.
I would definitely repurpose all your content like that, right? So if you have a newsletter or article, I'm pretty sure there's 4 bullet points within that article that you can make into 4 posts. You can make it into 3 videos. You can make it, always think about how you can make multiple pieces of content out of one piece. Okay. I know we're coming up on time. I don't know if we're gonna have time to go through everything, but do you guys have any questions? Maybe I'll stop the sharing. We could just kind of have the open dialogue and talk about it.
You don't have to stop. Everyone that is watching via live stream, they have to join the virtual summiteers to keep hanging out with you. But
Okay.
everyone here will still be able to interact with you.
All right. Well, I think I would love to keep the conversation going, and we could just do it like that instead of like just going down and being like that. But like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing right now in terms of LinkedIn, or what's maybe even stopping you from developing your personal brand?
Hey, Jarrett and Erica, I appreciate it very much. I got to jump off. I got another call top of the hour here.
It was a
But
pleasure meeting you.
awesome job, dude. Great info.
Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate it.
Let's please connect.
Yep, will do.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
holidays.
Oh, I do put out content. I'm a big fan of repurposing content, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing the traction from it. So I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or not.
How many personal stories have you put up?
I have a question, sorry. Are we still live streaming now? Or are we off?
Yes, I was gonna wait right till 11 o'clock to cut it off.
It's up now.
I'm sorry, Elle, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I just wanted to know, so.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead and stop the live stream. So again, everyone who is watching via live stream, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, wherever you are, you're watching this. If you want to hang out with more brilliant, smart people like Jarrett, you have to join the Virtual Summiteers Mastermind group and meet up with us every Friday at 10 a.m. Well, see y'all